Yeah. New guys coming to you live. You could bet this like Jerome. New guys are men of steel. Best coverage in the league. Prime Reavers on the field. Don't know better ass. Nick, the hype is real. Gurus with the knowledge. You can check the mass appeal. They gon' turn your fantasies into dollar bills. Making dynasties from drafts like the Spurs when they build. Want the bragging rights and titles at your work. Let the new guys serve the wisdom to you first. I ain't advertising, just kicking facts. They turn average to Drakes cause they winning back to backs. So sit back, relax, all ears when they speak. And rain on competition with anything they leak. Make leagues joy gray like Ramsey did Reek. Passing off the mic, I'm out here, peace. Yeah. New guys coming to you live. You could bet this like Jerome. New guys are men of steel. Best coverage in the league. Prime Reavers on the field. Don't know better ass. Nick, the hype is real. Gurus with the knowledge. You can check the mass appeal. They gon' turn your fantasies into dollar bills. Making dynasties from drafts like the Spurs when they build. Want the bragging rights and titles at your work. Let the new guys serve the wisdom to you first. I ain't advertising, just kicking facts. They turn average to Drakes cause they winning back to backs. So sit back, relax, all ears when they speak. And rain on competition with anything they leak. Make leagues joy gray like Ramsey did Reek. Passing off the mic, I'm out here, peace.
Should I get the cowbell?
Yeah, get cowbell.
Hold on. Alright. Good afternoon, everybody. I have some urgent news, some very, very pressing matters to discuss with you. First and foremost, the boys are back in town. For those of you who don't remember, I'm Gerard and this is my cousin Nick. We're the new guys, and welcome back. For anyone new here, we do football analysis, both regarding the NFL and fantasy, just sort of the two of us hanging out, going back and forth, giving our opinions, answering your questions. Follow us on Facebook. Look for us on YouTube, The New Guys Podcast. And welcome back. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing good, Gerard. Out here, back in the Sunshine State. Excited to watch some football and get back into the swing of things.
I'm excited as well. The Giants play today. Preseason is in mid-form right now, so things are pretty exciting. For those of you who don't know, I was living in Florida back then. I moved back to New York. So now that I'm back in the state where both of our families are, we're going to try and get guest appearances and things going throughout the season. But for starters, we just figured we'd keep the traditional format of the two of us. And that being said, I feel like we should focus this episode more around the NFL rather than fantasy. We're going to touch on both, but just because we haven't drafted yet, I don't want to give away anything to this one or any family members listening. But for those of you, I do have something I have to show our viewers. Nick, you know what this is. They must know. They must know that it isn't all talk. There is merit behind this. So
Yep. I'll read the tweet. You was in chat last year.
that now that we got that out of the way, I'm not gonna gloat too much. But
But now they know we know what we're talking about.
yeah, we're validated now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna focus. We're gonna go division by division, sort of like a shorter version of what we did last year in our pilot episode. We're gonna say which team we think is gonna be the one to advance to the playoffs in that division. Maybe if we think there's a wild card team in that division, and then we'll discuss specific things, players and whatnot. So I guess we should just get started at the top and go with the AFC East, which is the Patriots, Jets, Dolphins, and Bills. Nick, where do you stand on this?
Same as always.
Same as always.
As long as Brady and Belichick are there. I don't know. We said the same thing last year. They're not going anywhere.
Nope.
I do like what the Jets have done. I think they'll come in second in the division. I think Sam Darnold has shown promise. I don't know if they'll start him or at what point they will, but yeah, this is the Patriots division to run.
Yeah, I agree with that. Until something happens there, either an injury or retirement by Brady or something, it's theirs for the foreseeable future. I'm intrigued to see who the Jets will start, though, because Bridgewater has played well, and talking to our Jets family and friends, Jet fans, they seem to want Bridgewater to start to raise trade value and then ship him out. It'll give Darnold time to develop, and if Bridgewater plays like he did last night, then they can get maybe a decent piece or a third-round draft pick maybe for Bridgewater. We'll see what they do, but Darnold's their future at quarterback, so the other two are just sort of there to push him and guide him, I think. But I agree with the Patriots. How do you feel about that backfield, though? That's one of the trickier questions going forward.
Yeah, it is. Bill Belichick makes talent out of nothing, and they went out and actually drafted a running back in the first round this year, Sony Michel out of Georgia. But he has not looked the part at all this camp. I think he has an injury until around week 1, they're saying. And even when he's there, he doesn't look like what they drafted. So, I don't know. One of them will always be good. Always a good bench stash. Rex Burkhead, James White. But no guy stands out to me right now.
I agree with that. I really don't know if I had to choose one gun in my head. I don't know where I would go. But some things worth noting, they did also sign Jeremy Hill in the offseason. And reports came out today or late last night that Rex Burkhead has a tear in his knee. I don't know the severity of that, but that is worth mentioning. So we're just going to have to see how that shakes out. I think the Dolphins and the Bills and the Jets are all just sort of stuck in purgatory, as we said, until the Patriots age a little more. But I do agree. I like where the Jets are going. And Buffalo, low-key, made the playoffs last year. I don't see that happening again this year. They don't have a quarterback. But I do sort of like what they're doing at receiver. They went and traded for Corey Coleman and gave up basically peanuts. A 2020 7th-round pick.
Yeah, something like that.
And they signed Chris Ivory to back up McCoy. But that's something...
Benjamin, too.
That's something we should touch on. McCoy, with his potential court and penalization with the league, his court dates. Are you touching him this year? What's your opinion on this?
Yeah, I would still draft him. I would draft him around the 20 spot probably. I mean, it's kind of hard to prove what he did, because it wasn't like he was there. He allegedly sent, I guess, a hit on his ex-girlfriend, and so.
But he also has alibis claiming he was out of state at OTAs.
Yeah, so I don't know if there's any way for them to prove that, or if they do, maybe it'd be in future years. So I honestly would draft him normally this year.
I disagree a little bit, just because, not so much because of that, but because there's younger and equally as impressive talent around the same spot. There's no issues regarding the law with Devontae Adams or with Freeman or Gronk. Like, there's other talented players around the early 20th pick. So I think I would just, to mitigate risk, I would steer a different direction. But if he falls to you at the beginning of the 3rd or something like that,
he's going to be a steal for someone.
He's going to be a steal, exactly. Anything else you want to touch on, or you want to move on to the AFC North?
We can move on to the North.
I sort of feel like this division is similar to the Patriots situation in the East. I feel like it's the Steelers each and every year until something happens.
Yeah, no one else stands out. I like what the Browns did, but I don't think they're getting 9 wins this year like some people do. I still think they're maybe get 5, 6, something like that. I think they definitely improved, but not enough to do anything big.
I agree. People are claiming playoffs are bust, and I'm sitting here thinking you'll be lucky to be 8-8.
Yeah.
They're just too young. They're just too young. But you know what it is? They're getting all this hype because they're on Hard Knocks right now.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
The Bucs got a lot of hype last year, too. Looked at them. They had, 4 wins, something like that.
Yeah. It will be interesting to see when and if they sign Dez, though, especially with Josh Gordon still iffy in regards to when he's going to return.
That could be one of the most talented receiving corps in the league, though. Landry, Dez, Gordon when he comes back, or if he does. And then the new guy, Callaway.
He looked good against my Giants.
Yeah, he has some problems with the law, too, like Gordon, but when he plays, he's like a first-round talent, they're saying.
Also worth mentioning, Njoku had 2 touchdowns last week, and people are expecting a breakout there. I just think there's a lot of mouths to feed there, especially if they do sign Dez and Gordon plays. There's a lot of talent there, as you said, which is good. I just don't know how many of them will carry weekly relevance. Some of them might become boom or bust just because there's not enough targets and carries to go around. But you agree, you think it's the Steelers division. You know, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Big Ben, and then a distant fourth, Juju, I'd say, are the 4 you want there. And I don't see that changing anytime soon. Low-key, though, I just want to mention, I kind of like what the Ravens did at receiver, going out and getting Crabtree, and then I think they also got John Brown, who's always been a speedy deep threat. So I do just want to put that on record that they have a good defense every year, and if Alex Collins does what he did last year and their revamped receiving core holds up, Baltimore could potentially play for a wild card spot.
Yeah, that quarterback competition will be interesting to watch too as the season goes on. They say Flacco's the starter, and he will be for at least the first half of the season, I think. But I don't know, a few bad games, and the fans might have to change that.
A short hook, right?
Yeah.
If they're in contention, I don't see them pulling Flacco. But if they start off 2-5, I agree. Mid-season, they could put Jackson in. Anything you want to mention about the Bengals?
Nah, not really. They're the Bengals. We're good to move on.
We're good to move on. Since Jeremy Hill's gone, they're expecting big things from Mixon. And John Ross looks healthy. Other than that, you know, Eifert's a question mark, and AJ Green's a stud. So, yeah, let's move on to the AFC South. And since your Colts are here, I'm gonna let you take the reins on this one.
Yeah, and I'm not even saying this because I'm a Colts fan. I think this is probably the most intriguing division in the league, just because there's so many unknowns. Like, can the Jaguars' defense hold up? Deshaun Watson, what will he be? Andrew Luck coming back, this is a big one, obviously. I personally think the Texans will win the division, even though I'm a Colts fan. I think we'll win the wild card. But a lot of people are hyping up the Jaguars again, you know, Super Bowl, and they had a good season, but everything went right for their defense. And the big thing is, they went 10-6. They didn't play Andrew Luck once, they didn't play Deshaun Watson once. So they went 4-0 against those two teams. In reality, I think they split that, probably. I think they were an 8-8 team last year, honestly. I think they have a good defense. I think Blake Bortles played the best football of his career. I don't know if that holds up. I know you're a big Jags guy
because I live down there. Tom Coughlin's there.
Yeah.
You know, Duval. So I need to support them. But somewhere 3 rooms away from me, my little brother is smiling that you're saying Deshaun Watson is going to take the division. For those of you who don't recall, my brother Dominic goes to Clemson, so he is all about every Clemson player, especially Deshaun Watson. And I think I agree with that. I think Houston will probably take the division, but this is one of the more competitive divisions this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if 2 teams in it, either the Texans and the Colts or the Texans and the Jaguars, or even the Colts and the Jaguars maybe, if Watson gets hurt again, make the postseason. And not distant fourth, but Tennessee's not bad either.
Yeah, they did win a playoff game last year. I don't know. Mariota threw for 13 touchdowns and 15 interceptions last year. I don't know if that's ever getting them to the playoffs again.
Well, I mean, he was a little banged up as well. We'll see. This is going to be one of the divisions to watch. Let me just ask you, any chance that you think 3 teams in the AFC South could make the postseason?
I do.
Because I think it was 2 years ago, the AFC West was sitting in a similar situation.
Yeah. That was 2 years ago. I honestly do. I think, the Texans will win. I think the Colts and even the Jags would have a good shot at making that second wild card. It depends if any other of those borderline teams in the AFC rise to the occasion, like a Ravens or something, or maybe like, I don't know, someone like the Raiders or something.
Or if Oakland takes a step forward this year.
Yeah.
I guess we'll see. I do just want to mention that I think Will Fuller is a little fluky. I thought so last year. I'm not a big fan. It's just what he did last year. His touchdown rate is not sustainable. I drafted him his rookie year, and he had a lot of drops. I think he's going to end up regressing to be something in the middle there. Not quite what he was last year with Deshaun Watson, but not as bad as he was his rookie year. I think people just need to temper their expectations a little bit there, and I could be wrong, but we'll see. Is there any specific player on the Colts, Jags, or Titans you want to mention?
Andrew Luck coming back. That's the big dog.
He's looked good.
That's basically what. Yeah, he has looked good.
It's your boy.
That's basically what everything comes down to. I mean, I know people are going to be scared to draft him. I don't blame him. He hasn't played in a year and a half. But every year he's been healthy. He's the top 4 fantasy quarterback. He's top 5 in passing yards. One of 7 quarterbacks ever to throw for 40 touchdowns in a season. And I think this is one of his best offenses. The line has looked awesome this year, and that's really the big one. You know, he's been his whole career on the run and stuff, but the new offense, a couple more seconds to sit back, a lot more quicker throws implemented, screen passes too. I think he could have one of his most successful years.
Now, I'm not going to ask you about the backfield because that's another murky situation.
Yeah, that's not a good situation.
And I'm gonna let you keep that knowledge to yourself before our draft. I don't know who's going to end up being the running back or if it'll be a committee. But I am going to ask you one quick thing. Eric Ebron, do you think he takes away from Jack Doyle? Do you think he complements him, 2 tight ends out? How do you see that shaking out?
I think he complements him well because they're 2 very different types of tight end. You know, Jack Doyle, he doesn't have catches more than 10 yards. He had, I forget what it was, but he had like the lowest yards per reception on the team last year, but he had the most catches on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a reliable third down. He'll get you 8 to 10 yards, and he'll get a lot of catches a game. Ebron's really a good compliment because what he is, he'll have a few drops, but he'll have 1 or 2 catches a game, and I think he could have a 40-yard catch, a 50-yard catch. You know, he's more of just a big play guy at tight end, and he's a mismatch. Jack Doyle's more of the reliable 3rd and 5. We need to get the first. We're throwing to Jack Doyle. We're not throwing to Eric Ebron. So I think he complements him well. I don't think he takes away from him that much.
Sounds good. All right, moving on to the AFC West. The Raiders, the Chiefs, the Broncos, and my brother's Chargers. You think Chargers?
No, I just like saying Chargers.
Oh, okay. I think it's the Chiefs just because they have a lot of talent there. They added Sammy Watkins, Spencer Ware is healthy again, and then they have their main pieces in play of Kareem Hunt and Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and they're expecting big things from Mahomes. So I think the Chargers could fight for a wild card spot, but I think it's the Chiefs. My brother somewhere is now miserable. So where do you stand on the West?
Okay, so I actually do think it's going to be the Chargers. I think they'll be close, though. I only think the Chargers, they've had a few injuries. They had Jason Verrett, their second corner, go down, and Hunter Henry obviously was a big one.
Mm-hmm.
But the Chiefs were good, but they just lost Marcus Peters, and I don't think people realize how big of a loss that is. I think he's a top 3 corner in the league. I think that allowed them to do so many things in that defense. So I think that definitely was a big hit. And they traded for nothing too. I think they got like a 4th and 5th round or something. I don't know. That was a crazy trade. And I think they definitely have a better offense than the Chargers, the Chiefs do. But the defense, I don't know. Eric Berry. Coming off that ACL, and I think he tore his ACL and MCL, something like that. I don't know how that'll hold up as well. But I think the Chargers, you look at them, they're one of those teams that are like the Eagles. You look at every position, every group of position, and they just have like a stud there. I don't know, cornerback, they got one. Wide receiver, I don't know. I just don't see any weaknesses with them.
I just see them keep getting crippled every week. I feel like someone else is getting hurt on the Chargers, which is the case more often than not, unfortunately. Even Joey Bosa's a bit banged up right now.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk with them, and it's kind of a preference thing. I think they'll both be good. I think they'll both be around 9 to 10 wins.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it'll come down to those divisional matchups between the two.
Mm-hmm. You don't think any chance Denver sneaks in?
No, I do like what they did with drafting Bradley Chubb. I think now they have maybe, if he holds up, the best pass rush duo in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Them and the Chargers, honestly. But yeah, I just don't see it on offense. I think Case Keenum was a one-hit wonder. Yeah, he had 10 good games, but
he was in the right system with some of the best weapons.
Yeah, I don't know how it'll hold up in Denver. The Raiders, 2 years ago they were the next big thing, but now you're hearing things like their one good defensive player, Khalil Mack, best in the league, hasn't even talked to the head coach since he was signed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a whole mess there. I don't know when he'll play. I don't think he'll play for a few weeks into the regular season, honestly.
Martavis Bryant can't learn the playbook. There's a lot of...
they're just a mess.
Yeah, so I agree. I think they'll take a step back. But, hey, maybe Gruden wants everyone to think that. Maybe we're all just sleeping on the Raiders. We'll see. Maybe. All right, I guess let's head to the NFC. We'll start off with my Giants taking the division.
Take it away.
I don't really think that's going to happen. I do think we're going to go about 9-7. Fight for a wild card spot, probably. Maybe the division, but I just think the Eagles are too stacked. I mean, Alshon Jeffrey's a little banged up. Nick Foles left the game yesterday. Carson Wentz may or may not be ready for week 1, maybe week 2. But over the course of the season, I just think the Eagles' talent wins out and they take the NFC East. But like I said, the Giants couldn't go for 9, maybe 10 wins and fight for that wild card spot. People just seem to forget. I know last year was a lost year, but we lost a lot of players on our O-line. We lost Odell Beckham. There were locker room issues with Eli Apple. And the year before that, we made the postseason. So I really don't think the Giants are that far out. Realistically, if everyone stays healthy, we're going to have an unstoppable offense with Shepard and Ingram back. We finally have a running back. Barkley is going to take a lot of pressure off our receivers. I just don't see us being stopped on offense. So even if our defense isn't what it was 2 years ago, it should be better than last year, and I think that's going to be enough. Where do you stand?
Yeah, I look at the Giants. I think they'll go 9-7. I think the Eagles will win just because they're awesome. But so if you look at the Giants, they're kind of like what I was saying with the Chargers. You look at all the position groups. You go to D-line, they have an All-Pro in David Harrison.
Mm-hmm.
You go to linebackers, you have a son Alec Ogletree. Safeties,
Landon Collins, my boy.
Cornerback, Jordan Jenkins. Running back, Barkley. Wide receiver, Odell. Every single position group. The offensive line's a little shaky, but we'll get to that later. But every other position group has a stud at it, and I think that's what it takes to get to the playoffs. It's not just having a lot of wide receivers and a shitty defense. You're well spread out throughout the whole team. You have studs all around. That's why I think it'll be good.
You say the O-line's a little shaky. I say it's a bit improved. Will Hernandez was a steal in the second round. We overpaid for Nate, but it was a glaring need. I feel like.
Yeah, Nate Solder's good. He's still the fourth best left tackle in that division, though. But he's good.
It's still an improvement over Flowers,
yeah,
who's unfortunately still starting. But at least Eli will see the rush coming. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Did you want to touch on anything with Washington or Dallas?
I think Dallas will be good too. I think Dallas will be 8-8 around there. I think the Eagles will go 11-5, 12-4. Giants will be around 9-5, and I think Dallas somewhere from 7-9 to 8-8. So I still think they'll be okay. I just outside of the running game, their line's getting a little older. I just don't think they have that much left. I don't think Dak's anything special. I think he's a good game manager. I don't know if he'll take another step and get you somewhere else. He didn't have a lot of hype coming out of college. It's not like some guy they're still expecting big things from.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think.
They don't have the best receivers. They lost Jason Witten.
They don't have anyone. I think Alan Hearns is their one guy or something.
Well, I think Zeke is going to get his. There is a chance because that defense is pretty suspect. There is a chance late in games they're stuck just airing it out. I don't think they have the best receiver corps for that, but at least for fantasy purposes, maybe Dak can do what Russell Wilson did in garbage time last year. Score a few late deep touchdowns to Gallup or Cole Beasley or Allen Hurns. I wouldn't go out of my way to target Dak, but it is something that could surprise people. Despite them being about a 500 team, I agree with you there. Dak may carry more fantasy relevance than we're expecting. And as for Washington, go Fat Rob. Samaje Perine left the game yesterday. He should be fine.
Guys is out.
Yep. But I just like Fat Rob because of his nickname. So I'm Team Kelly. And I guess we'll see how that plays out. NFC North. My father's Vikings. Where are you going here? The Packers, Vikings, Lions, Bears?
I'm going with the Vikings too. I think this will be another close one though. Aaron Rodgers is, I think, the best player in the league. I think most people should also think that. I think he's better than Tom Brady at this point in their careers. So I definitely think it'll be close, but the Vikings just have too much talent all the way around. They don't have any weakness anywhere. Packers have a lot of weaknesses, but they also have the best player in the league to show it a little. But I think once it gets to that late season stretch, I think the overall balance of the Vikings will be what gets them to the top. But I still think 11-5 versus the Packers being 10-6 or something. So I still think it'll be close.
I agree. They're both going to make the postseason as long as Rodgers stays healthy. Of course, last year just sort of it didn't work out that way. But I am intrigued to see behind Devontae Adams and Randall Cobb if Geronimo Allison or one of their rookies ends up playing meaningful snaps, 3 wide sets or anything like that. But yeah, Minnesota's just on both ends of the ball very sound. So should be.
With the Packers, one guy to watch, probably not going to draft him, so I'll just tell. Jake Kumaro, formerly, I think he might have been a practice squad guy, but Aaron Rodgers the other day was trashing the wide receivers, saying how none of them knew anything, saying how they had to step up the par to be that. He's used to Jordy Nelson, that was his guy, and none of them showed anything. He said the only guy who's doing his job was Jake Kumaro. I picked him up in one of my fantasy leagues. First preseason game, I think he had 80 yards and a touchdown, or 100 yards and a touchdown.
Good
so
signs.
That could be the guy to watch going forward.
Good signs. Maybe a name for dynasty leagues.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think the Bears and the Lions the Bears I think will be improved this year. The Lions I think will be about the same this year, but I don't see either of them making it out of the division. I am intrigued to see what Trubisky could do with his new weapons, though. So.
Yep. Yeah.
NFC South.
This is another close one. I think the Falcons will take it.
Ooh, okay.
I think, this is definitely a debate one, because it's kind of a preference thing. The Buccaneers, we don't even have to talk about them. But between the Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons, I just think consistently the Falcons, I think I read something. Under Cam Newton, the Panthers have not had back-to-back winning seasons, which is a stat that intrigues me, because last year they were pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
The Saints, while I do like the young rookie class they had last year, I think Breeze is another year older, and I just don't know how to hold up. I still think they'll be good, though. I think they could get 10 wins. But if you look at the Falcons, that offense is awesome. They took a step back with Kyle Shanahan left for San Francisco. But still, Matt Ryan, former MVP, Julio Jones, best in the league. They drafted Calvin Ridley from Alabama in the first round. They have maybe the best running back tandem in the whole league. And their defense is still young and it's on the rise. So that's why I think they'll take it this year. But still, with the Saints, I think it'll be close, kind of like the Vikings and Packers.
So, I agree. Tampa's pretty irrelevant this year. I'm intrigued by Carolina because I think they upgraded Jonathan Stewart when they got C.J. Anderson. Greg Olson's healthy again, but I think it's sort of a two-horse race, Atlanta or the Saints. I'm going to steer the other direction, though, and say the Saints are going to take the division, only because I think they have a better defense. Kamara looks to be something special. Drew Brees, while he is another year older, he's still Drew Brees.
Yeah.
And Julio and Michael Thomas, I think they're both unstoppable receivers. I really don't see either one of them being significantly better than the other. So I just think they have a better quarterback, better running back, better defense. And
one thing with the Falcons, their line gets underrated, but they have a top 3 line in the league.
They do. Ryan has time to throw. Freeman and Coleman have holes to run through. I don't know. I think they might both advance. They're both going to be good, as will the Panthers. But if I had to choose one, I just disagree. But we'll see. NFC West?
You can take that one.
The Rams.
Start.
The Rams. They're, I think, pretty much almost as complete as Minnesota and Philly. We'll see what happens with Aaron Darnold holding out. But I think San Fran's going to take a step forward. Seattle lost a lot of pieces this year, so they're going to take a step back. And Arizona really only has David Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald, the ageless wonder. So I just think it's the Rams. 11, 12 wins isn't crazy because I could see them winning 5 of the 6 games in their division. So
yeah, I probably would say they get around 11 to 12 wins too.
Mm-hmm.
They also kind of they're one of those teams. They don't have any weaknesses. You look at their defensive tackles. The Ndamukong Suh's their second best D tackle.
Mm-hmm.
That just shows you their second best corner.
How deep they are. Yeah.
Yeah, they have all pros everywhere. Todd Gurley almost won MVP last year.
Should have won MVP last year. He got snubbed.
Yeah, so I don't know. You look at them. Their worst position is probably with their wide receivers, and they still have Brandon Cooks, Robert Woods, and Cooper Kupp, and that's like their worst position. That's still an awesome, I guess, corpse compared to like the rest of the league.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know who their tight end is though.
I actually don't know offhand either.
Yeah, but still, that doesn't matter too much.
Yeah, they're running through their running back pretty much. They're running through Todd Gurley and going to the receivers. Their tight end, it's probably someone who's good at blocking. But
yeah.
I don't know off the top of my head. We'll get back to you on that. Anything else you want to touch on? I know you have dinner plans and...
Yeah. Did we get all the divisions? Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's all the divisions. Any specific player, question?
Off the top of my head, not really. Well, how about we could do like, I don't know, who do you think, like, so who do you think what wide receiver do you think will take the next step and become elite? So right now I'd say there's 4 elite receivers. I'd say there's Hopkins, Julio, Odell, and Antonio Brown. What guy do you think will take the next step and join that class? Maybe like a Michael Thomas, a Keenan Allen. Like, who do you have high hopes for this season?
The first name you just said there, Michael Thomas.
Michael Thomas?
Yeah, that's where I'm going with that. I think I think he's second in the league since coming to the league. This is going to be his 3rd year. And I think he's second in the league in, I want to say, yards behind Antonio Brown. And last year, yeah, it's low key, but yeah,
receiving yards or overall yards?
I think receiving yards. Not positive on that, but I would already put him in that class. Just they were very run heavy, that offense last year, and I think they go a little not more pass heavy, but closer to an even split, and I think that's enough to vault him into that tier as well. So that's where I stand with that. I'd say Michael Thomas. We'll see what Devontae Adams is too now that Jordy's out, but that's who I'm not ready to throw him in that category. I want to see it first, but potentially. So.
Yeah, I think Jordy was awesome, and I think him and Rodgers had such a connection.
Mm-hmm.
And when Jordy was the number 1 wide receiver there, he was a top 6, top 7 pick in fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adams at 18 or 19, wherever he is, I think that's a steal. I think he has a little bit of a different skill set than Jordy. I don't want to call him better, but I think if he's Aaron Rodgers' guy, I think that could be a beautiful connection.
Which we'll see, and hopefully he stays healthy. He's very prone to concussions. I think he's had 3 over the last 2 seasons, Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So, we'll see if he could stay on the field. He was on the field most of last year, and he actually recovers from concussions really quick. I think one of them he didn't even miss the next game, which is pretty impressive.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But, if both of them stay healthy and they do develop that rapport, we could be putting him in that tier, down the road.
All right.
Which
One more.
I have a question for you first. Which rookie running back do you think is, obviously excluding Barkley?
Yeah,
we
not
think,
counting Saquon.
Yeah. Not including Saquon, which rookie back do you think is the one to own this year and then also going forward?
Well, I would have said Geis. That didn't work out too well.
Mm-hmm.
Then I probably would have went with Michelle. That wouldn't work out well. Then I probably would have said Penny. This is all if you asked me a week ago. But he just fractured his hand against the Colts, and he's not coming back to week 1. And I don't even think he was the starter when he was healthy. So I like Royce Freeman out of Denver just because they're usually a run-heavy offense, and he kind of fits the thing. He's a bruiser, so I think that could work out. And I also like Ronald Jones a lot, actually, for the Buccaneers. I don't think that offense will have a lot to rely on the first few weeks without Jameis Winston. So I think if he shows something in those first 3 weeks that Jameis is out, they could keep using him the whole year. So I think I would probably go with Ronald Jones on it.
Okay. I would say for this year at least, it's going to be Royce Freeman in my opinion, and that's pretty much just because I think he's going to get the volume. I think he's got the easiest path to touches. He's really only fighting with, Devontae Booker, I think, for lead back duties. So I just think he's got the easiest path to relevance this year, and that's why I think he's probably the rookie back, excluding Barkley, to own this year. Going forward, though, I'm going to say Penny. They want to go, back to being a run-first offense, and I believe in the future, at least, they're going to look to improve that O-line as well. So I think when all said and done, Penny will be the second best, excluding Barkley. Just maybe not this year because he does still have Chris Carson there and a suspect line. So we'll see.
Okay.
Did you have another question?
Yeah, we can make this the last one. So I don't think any of these guys are elite. I think they're both very good, and this is a common question I get asked or come across in mock drafts. Who are you going with, Thielen or Diggs?
Okay, it's based on the rankings I've seen. They're about one spot apart from each other. I would say this is a question for my dad because he is the Minnesota fan, and ironically enough, I asked him that yesterday when we were watching preseason, and in his opinion, he says Thielen. He just thinks he's a safer bet because he got more targets last year, ran more routes last year, and over the course of Diggs' history in the league, he usually does miss a handful of games. He tends to get banged up over time. So just from a health perspective, the amount of targets he's getting, just Thielen appears to be the safer pick. So I would say Thielen, but it's very close, and really it's a matter of preference. I don't think there's really a wrong answer there. If you have either of them or both of them, you're happy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'd probably go Thielen too. I think Diggs got a lot of hype because of that last second touchdown. I still think he's awesome, but I think Thielen was a bit better during the actual season.
Let me ask you one more question. So out of the first rounders, we'll say, and that's open to interpretation, but out of the top 10, 12, 13, 14 players, which one do you feel is most likely to bust, and why?
Bust. I'd probably have to go with Julio Jones, honestly.
Okay.
I love Julio, and I think he's an awesome game receiver. Fantasy-wise, though, the last couple of seasons, he hasn't put up great numbers. He had 3 touchdowns last year, and he basically really only has one game during the season where he has 50 points, and that kind of elevates his stats up a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So if he doesn't have that game this year, it kind of kind of decreases stuff. Plus, Calvin Ridley, they just drafted a wide receiver in the first round. They still have Sanu there, so you don't know if he's getting as many targets. He'll still be a big distraction on the field, but from a fantasy perspective, I don't think he'll live up to being a first or even a second round pick.
Okay. That's fair. I was going to go a different direction, but you make a pretty valid point there. So I'm going to say who I was going to go with, but I'm going to sleep on that because I may steer clear of Julio because those are very valid points. I did not really think that one through. He had one game last year where he went for double-digit catches, and it really inflated his stats. I was going to say potentially Kareem Hunt, and that's only...
Okay, that's another good one.
Yeah, that's just because, now we have a year of him on tape. His backup, Spencer Ware, who is a solid running back himself, will probably take away some of those carries, maybe a few goal line carries. I don't think it's a committee. It's Kareem Hunt's job, but I think Spencer Ware is going to be more involved in that offense than people realize. And I also just think because there's so many mouths to feed there will be a handful of games where they might abandon the run completely and just try to hit their receivers and tight end a lot more. So I just think there's a bit more uncertainty there than people realize, and he's someone I've been sort of steering clear. And I know he won me a championship last year, but in the first round, I just don't like risks, and I think there's more risk there than at other players in the first round.
Yeah.
So, but I think I agree with you. I think Julio's probably the most risky now that I'm thinking about it. So, all right, we will be... Oh, go on.
Yeah, I also think he's a borderline first rounder. I like him a lot, actually. I've been drafting him a lot. Dalvin Cook, I like him, but if you look back, he really only had 4 games last year before the injury, and he looked awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But for where he's going, that's a dangerous pick right there. I think it's boom or bust. I think he's going to be a stud personally, but he could also be very risky. He's got a lot of talent around him, but just going off of a resume, he didn't have that much stuff last year, so that's why.
I think he's going to be great. I mean, McKinnon's gone, so they must have some faith in Cook's health. But it is a small sample size, so we'll see. I like him as a player, and I think he'll be fine. But I agree. Maybe if he's there at the beginning of the second round, I'll go with him. But I'm potentially steering clear at the end of the first. Fournette, we know will get the touches. Melvin Gordon's pretty consistent. I just feel like there's safer players if you're looking to go running back, and if you're going best talent available, you already know what Hopkins and Odell are. I'd agree. It's a small sample size to go on, but to that same point, we don't have a sample size on Barkley.
That's true.
We have not seen him in a regular season NFL game. So if the small sample size is something that concerns you, there is nothing on Barkley. I think he's also going to be a stud this year, but just something to consider. So. All right, we will be back next week. Enjoy your dinner, say hi to the fam, and I will try to get this posted before Sunday because I know a lot of people draft on Sundays. I'll try to get this posted either today or tomorrow. So we'll record usually every Wednesday, and I'll try and get this out within a day or two after that. Good luck with your mocks. Good luck with your drafts, and go Giants.
Yep. Later, guys.
Later.